All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today we're exploring a truly fascinating paradigm shift. We're talking about completely transforming your everyday kitchen into a high-performance biological laboratory. It's a deep dive into metabolic mastery, really looking at the science of how nutrient density, timing, and specific culinary protocols can literally reprogram your vitality. The idea here is to transition away from being just instinctive, everyday cooks. Instead, we're going to help you become what we call a global alchemist. You see, a global alchemist doesn't just look at a pile of vegetables and spices and see dinner. They treat every single ingredient as active biological information that communicates directly with their cells. But before we get to the cool alchemy stuff, I want you to ask yourself a serious question. Are you accidentally destroying the nutrients in your food before it even hits your plate? I mean, think about your daily routine. You might be out there buying the absolute healthiest organic produce available, but then eating it at the entirely wrong biological time. Or even worse, you might be unknowingly destroying all those vital nutrients while chopping and heating your meals. To fix that, here's our syllabus for today's explainer. First, the high-performance kitchen. Second, your daily metabolic clocks. Third, your insulin sensitivity profile. Fourth, maximizing nutrient bioavailability. And fifth, the Global Alchemist protocols. It's a pretty wild journey from the macro level of circadian clocks all the way down to the molecular enzyme reactions happening right on your cutting board. All right, starting right off with Section 1, the high-performance kitchen, where we look at food as biological information. Moving to Section 2, your daily metabolic clocks, because honestly, timing is everything. To really understand why timing matters so much, we have to look at the master conductor of your metabolism, the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN for short. Tucked away right there in your hypothalamus, this master clock literally uses light exposure to tell your entire body what time it is. It sets off a cascade of hormones, like cortisol, to wake you up and get your whole system fully online. Now, what's truly fascinating here is the concept of peripheral clocks. Your liver, your pancreas, your muscles, they actually all have their own internal biological clocks. But here's the kicker. Unlike the master clock in your brain that responds to light, these peripheral organ clocks are synchronized primarily by when you eat. That makes meal timing an insanely powerful biological tool. If you eat at the wrong time, you can actually decouple your organ clocks from your brain's master clock. This comparison brilliantly illustrates the real-world impact of that timing. In the morning, you're sitting at peak insulin sensitivity. Your cortisol is high, which mobilizes fuel, and your melatonin is low. But in the evening, your insulin sensitivity drops by 20 to 50%. That rising melatonin directly inhibits your pancreas's ability to handle glucose. This is exactly why front-loading your carbohydrates in the morning capitalizes on peak efficiency, while eating a heavy, carb-rich meal at night hits a system that's basically already shut down for repairs. Which brings us to Section 3, your insulin sensitivity profile. Let's personalize this chrononutrition framework. Because circadian nutrition is absolutely not a one-size-fits-all deal, you really got to identify your own baseline. Let's look at 3 distinct profiles. Profile A represents high insulin sensitivity. These are lean, highly active folks who can usually handle complex carbs throughout the day. Profile B is moderate sensitivity, where you really want to compress your eating window to about 10 hours and start tapering those carbs off by the afternoon. And then Profile C is reduced insulin sensitivity. For this profile, an early time-restricted eating window plus a high-fat, high-protein breakfast with 0 added sugars becomes absolutely vital. Pinpointing your profile dictates exactly when you should consume your carbs versus your fats. Now for Section 4, maximizing nutrient bioavailability. This is where we get into the actual biochemistry of cooking. Okay, prepare to have your mind completely blown by this number, 2,000%. Seriously. Curcumin, which is the active compound in turmeric, is notoriously hard for the human body to absorb. But if you simply pair it with a specific compound found in black pepper, called piperine, it creates a synergistic reaction. It actually inhibits a digestive process in your liver, boosting curcumin absorption by an astonishing 2,000%. So, how you prep your food matters, just as much as what you prep. Take garlic, for instance. Great for flavor and absolutely amazing for your heart. When you crush it, you release an enzyme called alliinase. But here's the catch. That enzyme needs time to create allicin, which is the compound actually responsible for garlic's massive cardiovascular benefits. You have to wait 10 minutes after chopping garlic before cooking it. If you just toss it straight into a hot pan, the heat immediately destroys the alliinase enzyme, and poof, you lose those amazing benefits. And let's see how this exact same concept plays out with something like broccoli. Broccoli is packed with incredible anti-cancer compounds, but the enzyme required to activate them, myrosinase, is totally destroyed by heat. Chopping it raw and letting it rest for 40 minutes allows the myrosinase enzyme to fully synthesize this potent anti-inflammatory compound called sulforaphane. Only after that 40-minute resting period should you apply gentle heat. These culinary lab protocols map out exactly how you can act as a biochemist in your own kitchen. Want to absorb lycopene from tomatoes? Cook them in olive oil for at least 15 minutes to break down the cell walls. Want the iron from lentils? Just add a squeeze of lemon juice right before you eat to absorb absorption by 67%. Want to absorb those fat-soluble vitamins from your vegetables? You've got to cook them with a dietary fat, which, by the way, can multiply absorption by up to 15 times. Heat, fat, and pairing. Those are your ultimate lab tools. Let's bring it all together in Section 5, the Global Alchemist's Protocols, merging gastronomy and science. Now, becoming a global alchemist doesn't mean you're stuck eating bland, boiled chicken and sad steamed broccoli. No way. It means the geography of flavor actually meets biological precision. By combining ancestral spices like Moroccan cumin or fresh Mediterranean herbs with these biochemical resting and heating techniques, you can naturally reduce systemic inflammation and stabilize your blood sugar. And you get to do all of that while enjoying world-class gastronomy. Always keep this profound truth in the back of your mind. To be a global alchemist is to understand that food is information. Seriously, every single time you step up to your cutting board to prep your dinner, remember that you aren't just making a meal. You are sending powerful biological signals of health, balance, and vitality directly to your cells. So, I want to leave you with this provocative thought to ponder as we wrap up this explainer. The next time you step into your kitchen, how are you going to use the science of metabolic alchemy to optimize your very next bite? Will you let your garlic rest? Will you pair your turmeric with some black pepper? The tools to completely master your metabolism are literally sitting on your spice rack and in your produce drawer right now. Go have some fun experimenting, and I'll see you in the next explainer.